If you could fund one cause for the next 20 years, what would it be?
I imagine public health interventions in the developing world. That'd be the... Bridget disagrees. What are you going to say, Bridget?
Oh, you disagree?
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree.
No, I'm just trying to create conflict.
I love it. Yes, I love it. I want conflict. Do you think that people subconsciously prefer causes where they feel heroic?
I think people like to know that they're putting a smile on people's face, but it's not the same thing as doing the most good as you can.
If most people donated 10% of their salary,
I think that would be enough money to just solve extreme poverty.
would you rather reduce extreme suffering for millions of animals or moderately improve the lives of thousands of humans?
Yeah, I'll probably pick humans.
Seems really unfair to ask that question without a spreadsheet.
Do you think most popular causes are indeed the most important?
Oh, now I'm going to sound like a bad person.
The AI kill one healthy person, harvest the organs, and save 5. Is this AI a monster, or is it the most effective doctor we've ever built? Hi and welcome to More Than Good by Effective Altruism Australia. Today we're exploring if we can't save everyone, then who do we save? Today I am joined by Bridget Loughhead, who's the Head of Community Programs at Effective Altruism Australia, Ray O'Leary, who's a writer, comedian, media personality, and Grace Adams.
Makes me sound like Carl or Jackie O or something. That's awful. Media personality. It's a definition of someone with no personality. And anyway, we'll talk to
Ray
Grace.
O'Leary, no personality.
Talk to Grace. And this is Grace.
And Grace Adams, who's the CEO of Effective Altruism Australia. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks.
So my first question is for Ray, i.e. no personality.
Oh, no.
If you could fund one cause for the next 20 years, what would it be?
Oh dear. Oh, that's so much responsibility. Maybe you guys told me I didn't have to prepare. Maybe I should have done some research. Well, I mean, I feel like you can only fund one cause. Then surely the smart thing to fund would be research into what's the best cause to fund. Is that the smart thing? Is it, I don't know. I don't want to waste all. Well, the other obvious one would be, I imagine, public health interventions in the developing world. That'd be the only two that spring to mind. Why? Have I said the wrong thing?
No, I mean, I think that's a great answer. I actually think that, yeah, you're welcome.
Bridget disagrees. What are you going to say, Bridget?
Oh, you disagree?
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree.
No, I'm just trying to create conflict.
I love it. Yes, I love it. I want conflict.
I just had questions about the setup. I was like, is nothing else getting funded in the whole world, or is it just what I'm going to fund and I'm only picking one thing?
what you would fund for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And it could only be one thing.
You were saying off camera that you wanted to fund costumes for Ku Klux Klan members.
Highly neglected. So as far as I can tell, nobody's funding that. But that's not the only thing I care about, unfortunately, is just how neglected it is. So that was going to be what I was going to say, was like the first thing to think about if I'm trying to pick only one thing to fund for 20 years would be what's going to need money for 20 years that is really neglected. But also probably does good for the world as well. So I think I would agree that looking into like what our priorities should be and how we can make the most headway in them is like a very good start. If I were to just guess right now without really sitting down and thinking about it for a long time.
Without doing research prior to the podcast, which we told you not to do.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that if social media disappeared tomorrow, that people would be more thoughtful with their donations, or do you think it would be the opposite?
I mean, my guess would be surely it'd be immaterial because, were people donating to highly effective charities before Facebook existed? Were people funding whatever it was that was important back then, vaccines for, children and whatnot? I imagine if anything, it might make things worse because at least with social media, you can spread the ideas of effective altruism and, what's an important cause area and whatnot. Like surely if anything, it's probably been overall good for the movement and probably overall detrimental to the society, but overall good for you. So you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
My thought there was that if social media didn't exist, maybe we'd just get a lot more time back, and then we could all pick up, McCaskill's books, or put Peter Singer's books in every little library on every corner of every street.
What's that?
Yeah, and then maybe that would do better. Really long TikTok.
10 hours.
And it's horrible when you just watch them out of order and you don't even know which part you're going to get.
Yes.
Part 147.
But maybe if we were able to disseminate ideas with a lot of fidelity and make them like really, people really get a lot out of like thinking things through, that would be better for effective giving and kind of EA ideas. But I don't know. I think that having the kind of reach and like visibility on what people are thinking and feeling that social media provides is also pretty useful. So.
Yeah, I think another point here is that if social media disappeared tomorrow, like the value of this podcast goes down a lot. So let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon, anyway. Ray, why do you think comedians, that's you, why do you think comedians tend to be pessimistic about humanity? And are you pessimistic about humanity?
Do I think comedians it's a good question. I would agree that a lot of comedians are very pessimistic about how the world's going to unfold. I think the first thing is that it's easier to be funny when you're being negative. I think it's very easy to be funny and be upset and be mad about things, like Larry David complaining about, I don't know how much something costs, or having to give $11 instead of $10, and then just cash and change. Anyway, but it's very hard to be an optimistic person and funny. I think there are very few people on stage who seem happy and funny, and I when I see that, I detest it. People smiling on stage and being happy, but how dare they? The comedy's a miserable person's game, and I also just think, I don't know, it's a general view of the world that things are going worse. The way the news makes things seem like it's going quite badly all the time, and so I think most people just adopt that framing or feel like things are going badly, which is fair enough. And I've forgotten what the second element to your question was.
If you are a pessimist.
Oh, yeah, I'm a naturally negative person. I feel pretty badly about most things, but I would say I feel optimistic about the long-term future and about humanity in general. Like I think humans tend to get a pretty bad rap, and I think people think the world's going a lot worse than it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that most things are going pretty fine. Most people cooperate. The world seems to be getting largely better. I have a living standard much greater than most kings had 500 years ago or whatever. Life's pretty swell. I can't complain.
There's
Sorry, go on.
if I were to add something, I think that there's almost a reaction. May I add something? I think there's a reaction where people, when you're saying something positive, people are like, who's paying you? Like, where do you get out of this? Whereas you're somehow way more believable if you have a negative point of view to share, as though there's not some kind of agenda going on there, but trying to share positive news or be like, well, it's actually not as bad as the news makes it out to be, whatever. People are think that there's some kind of scheme going on.
And negative framing is just naturally hooks you more, and certain places like charitable organisations, for example, they need to make the problems that they're trying to solve sound as bad as they possibly can, even though probably it is the best it's ever been to have certain types of illnesses and whatnot, given the state of our technology and whatnot. But it's in their interest to make it sound like it's really, really bad so they can maximise their donations.
Yeah.
Do you think that effective altruism makes a mistake by trying to represent things as accurately as possible?
It's a huge mistake, and I think we should be lying to the people. I think we should be. I was hoping for a more Joe Rogan type setup when I came, to be honest. I was hoping like it. But yeah, no, it is a mistake in a way, I guess, if you're trying to reach the maximum amount of people, perhaps. But I think it's also very good because then you're reaching a very specific, you're reaching a specific subset of people, who are resistant to that typical type of messaging.
Yeah, resistant to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Grace, do you think if most people donated 10% of their salary to charitable causes, how do you think the world would look if everyone in the world was doing that?
I mean, I think if everyone was donating 10% of their income, the world would look very, very radically different. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be enough money to just solve extreme poverty.
Yeah.
For sure. If everyone gave 10%. So yeah, the world would be so different. We would be funding so much research. There wouldn't be extreme poverty. We'd probably far be able to like reduce like the risks of like major existential crises in the future. And I think the people would just be happier.
Yeah.
Giving makes you happier. So maybe people would just be a bit less self-centered and a bit more cooperative overall. I think the world would look radically, radically different.
Oh, and another benefit of being negative all the time is that you get to adopt a defeatist attitude, where you feel like things are so bad, nothing possible, you can't do anything to make anything better, which then absolves you of blame of having to do anything. And that's quite nice to not have to do anything.
That's pretty good.
Get to stay home.
Yeah. Ray, I have a hypothetical for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Would you rather
marry David Attenborough?
marry, date, or avoid? Is that no? It's wrong show. Would you rather reduce extreme suffering for millions of animals or moderately improve the lives of thousands of humans?
I feel like I should pick the how moderate and how extreme are we talking. So I'm guessing the point of the hypothetical is I have to decide whether or not I care about animals more than humans. Is that the?
Well, I mean, if we think about it, so we're saying, would you rather reduce extreme suffering for millions of animals or moderately improving the lives of thousands of humans?
What counts as like moderately improving? Is like everyone gets like a vacuum cleaner or something? A nice new vacuum cleaner.
Let's say they're in some kind of discomfort and you're moderately taking away that. Maybe help me out here, Grace. With
maybe a year of extra life or like 6 months extra life or something.
Ooh.
Say at least a year of healthy
moderate,
life.
yeah.
I'll give
That's nice.
That. I'd love to experience just 1 year of healthy life. I can't wait. It is so good. Then probably I'll probably pick humans. I mean, I don't know. I am vegan and animal life is important, but I'd pick humans. I'm so sorry.
Interesting. What about you guys? What would be your pick on that?
I say the other thing.
It seems really unfair to ask that question without a spreadsheet in front of.
That's what I was trying to get to.
I'm like, I know that there are numbers about this, and I would go and find the best numbers I could find and think deeply about it, because it does seem to really matter. Like, how extreme is the animal suffering? How good is the human benefit?
How nice is the vacuum cleaner?
How sure am I that I can possibly?
Dyson.
Dyson, that's a good vacuum cleaner.
And then that does make people's lives better, but I think that like one of the kind of commitments to really using evidence to kind of think these things through is actually being able to say like, I don't know unless I think about it. If I were to make a guess.
You want to have a knee-jerk reaction, you want to go with.
Like I could always like make a bet maybe that was like, maybe human biases, we tend to be really biased towards humans, and so probably I would be more likely to pick the animals because we don't know a lot about how bad their suffering is or something like that. But really what I would want to do is spend at least an hour on my laptop and think about this. And there's so many like moral questions that come up in a trade-off like that. Like, you might think that suffering and preventing suffering is much more important than making people's lives better, and like adding happiness to happy people. So maybe you have some kind of moral commitment that's like going to privilege saving the animals from suffering over making happy people happier. And maybe you're unsure whether suffering is that much worse than pleasure, like increasing. So, I'm very like committed to just thinking it through, writing down kind of all the reasons you might prefer one or the other, and then putting numbers into it to try to make your best bet.
We know you're from the EA community when you want a spreadsheet and you need an hour on your laptop.
At least an hour.
At least an hour.
Maybe like 20 years.
Do you think that people subconsciously prefer causes where they feel heroic?
I do think people, yeah. I do think people subconsciously, but also maybe consciously prefer causes where they feel heroic. I think people like to know that they're putting a smile on people's face. I certainly like to know that. I was a scout leader for many years, and I've got so much out of being able to every week rock up and make a bunch of 7-year-olds have kind of one awesome hour of games and fun and things like that. And I think that does so much to your self-esteem and how you feel about the world. But it's not the same thing as doing the most good as you can. Like it's kind of like, it's a great thing to do. It makes you feel great and it's very positive activity, but like kind of helping people, putting a smile on their face, really being able to see the kind of outcome that you are helping people achieve might be less effective than some other action you can do. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're trying to make choices and trade-offs.
Yeah. Grace, what's one cause that is massively underfunded?
Oh, there are so many. I think that there are so many causes that are underfunded. I'm just trying to think of like one of many, many examples. I think that animal welfare is a good example of something that is really underfunded compared to the scale of suffering. But I think that there are so many areas as well in global health that are really underfunded. I think lead exposure is one of these. We know that 1 in 3 children have elevated levels of lead in their blood, which goes on to create many negative effects throughout someone's lifetime. And it seems relatively easy to actually reduce the amount of lead exposure that children get. And then I think there's pandemic prevention is another one that I think is really, really underfunded compared to the scale. COVID was a very, very bad pandemic in the scheme of things, but it doesn't even really nearly touch how bad a pandemic could be in the future. Mm-hmm. And all of the commitments and promises and excitement for funding pandemic prevention that we heard about during COVID seems to have really dissipated. And I think we'll look back on that in the next 10, 20, 50 years as a mistake, unless we see things really change.
I could add something to the funding one.
Yeah, go for it.
Right. Yeah. I think when it comes to like causes being funded and underfunded, there's such a difference between having any amount of funding for a problem versus putting all of our eggs in that basket or all of our money in that basket. Like I think about the work that Loughhead is doing, and their whole goal is to like try to make sure that there are good plans for what if there was this huge food catastrophe or a nuclear winter or a super volcano that blocked out the sun, that there should be plans to feed the world with the technology that we have. And I'm very comforted that there are some people spending, not very much money in the scheme of things to think about that, even though I'm not going to say, how about, 5% of GDP gets put towards nuclear winter prevention. I think when we think about underfunding, sometimes just going from nothing to like a bit of funding can be really important. Even though they're the things that nobody wants to hear about the nuclear winter plans. It's not very good news.
But I really don't want to die if there is a nuclear winter and we can't grow any crops.
Yeah.
Like that would be a real shame for me personally.
Yeah.
And maybe for everyone else.
Surely you'd want to die in a nuclear anyway. My hope would be that when the bombs drop, I would get taken out.
You don't want to eat the seaweed kibbles that they're working on?
Did you see the lunch she was having before? That's what you're preparing already. You're the horrible food you eat. But I don't think I've got anything to add in a post-nuclear apocalypse. I hope those bombs take me right out.
Ray, what is your biggest learning in life?
My biggest learning in life. Oh, good lord. I'll say I was in the Scouts. I hated it. You have spread untold misery to children. And also, I agree with Grace. I think not enough kids are being exposed to lead. I think we need to up that. But well, what was the question?
Biggest learning in life.
Oh, well, go back to me.
Sorry.
And just a small question as well.
Yeah, just a small question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just go through every moment in my life and try.
Play the tape, yeah.
That's true, yeah. The Strait of Hormuz is lovely to visit this time of year.
It is. Wonderful.
Great. What was the question? My biggest learning in life. What is my biggest learning in life? Maybe what I'm discovering is that I haven't really learned anything worthwhile or worth sharing. Don't perform for stag do's or bachelor parties. Well,
That seems really wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, be hard earned.
thank you so much. Is that relevant to this? I don't know.
Absolutely, very
Thank you so-
relevant,
thank you so
yeah.
much.
I mean, I think it could be relevant to anyone, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have to cut the fellowships for stag do's from my 2027 plan.
Yeah, no coursework for...
No coursework.
Do not fund them.
I have another hypothetical for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. If you could save one child you know or 5 you'll never meet, what would you choose?
Easy. 5 I've never met. The children I come across are just vile, horrible, little scamps, absolute monsters. Cretins, a lot of them.
But let's assume you have this is a child who's a family member of yours, perhaps.
Easy. 5 strangers, easy. You're loading the dice right in the face.
Some people think that you might have special bonds to, a special obligation to people in your family. I like that you've got the inverse kind of
the kids in my family
moral
are
theory.
ugly children. Ugly, not even good to look at. So yeah, easily 5 strangers.
I think, the negative kinship utilitarian, if you'd like to put that on your Wikipedia page or something.
and go for it. But I used to pose questions like this to people when I was at university. But yeah, obviously, you have to pick 5 strangers. 5 is a bigger number than 1.
What was it like to pose these questions to people?
Fun, entertaining, while away the hours. But yeah, almost everyone I know. I always found it interesting that people would be willing to sacrifice themselves for a certain number of strangers, but they'd never be willing to cause the death of a loved one to save a certain number of strangers, which is very interesting because it feels it's it's I guess somewhat irrational on the face of it.
What about you guys?
I think I would save the 5 strangers as well over someone I know. It probably depends exactly how close that person is to me. Might cause a bit of drama in my personal life to sacrifice my partner. Might lose all my friends in the process. God, I hope he's not watching this.
What's good is that we don't actually know each other very well, so I could get saved.
Maximise how many strangers in the EA community that you know, because they're more likely to save you.
Yeah, there you go. I think I would save the 5 strangers. I think it's the right thing to do. If I could sit down and really think about it, that's what I would do. I think.
What about you, Bridget?
I mean, it's a cop-out to say this thought experiment is not very realistic, but obviously I'd rather...
Please don't say another spreadsheet on your laptop.
No spreadsheet.
I find this situation happens to me on a daily basis. I've upset a lot of families.
Ideally I get to do both. I get to save everyone. So I think that if you're really pressed to think of those situations where you have to make a trade-off between those 2 things, you want to save more people because each of those other children is somebody's child. So, this is where I'm going to bring up more philosophy, I guess, as part of kind of the discussion and my reasoning, but it reminds you of the idea of the veil of ignorance, which is if you didn't know which of these people you were going to be, were you going to be the one that has the 1 kid or the parents of the 5 children, 5 individual parents? So if you didn't know which of those people you were going to be, you would hope that the person sacrifices their own child to save 5, because you're more likely to have the child close to you saved. So I think it's more fair when you think of it like that, though I hope to never be put in that position.
Yeah, because what if it was your child? I think that kind of brings it back to like Grace's point that it really depends like how close that person is to you, because then that complicates that question so much more. You know, like maybe if it's like some cousin, but then if it's your child, the consideration really changes.
But imagine you're the parent of the 5 children, or one of the 5 children. I think you would really want them to be saved. So I think it's hard to, it's hard to be excited about giving an answer to this hypothetical, because it's very difficult and.
Don't worry, I have more hypotheticals for you.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm having fun, but
yes, you're right. It's a tough question, but yeah, and it'd be very, very hard to sacrifice someone you know and loved, I guess, if you're put in this kind of situation. But yeah, like you said, the every reason to consider, I guess, the person close to you also applies to all those other 5 people. And they've all got people who they know and love, and they all have dreams and aspirations as well. And it's obviously a very tough thing to consider, but
it made me think when you said that many people would be unwilling to sacrifice a loved one, but they would sacrifice themselves. It's like, what do you think that your loved one would do if being asked that, right? And it's like you might want to work with them and decide, what do you agree upon?
They're standing on the train tracks, you're yelling down to them, what would you do if you were in my position?
The way I've heard this put for, in a very convincing way, at least, for the trolley problem, where you've got like 6 people on the tracks, 5 of them are on one track in front of the train, the other person's on one track. And you're trying to decide, do you pull the lever and kill the 5 instead of the 1? I like this mental image a lot. So everyone's in a sack. So they don't know if they're the 1 or the 5, but they can text one another. And they all text and they try to agree upon what they want to happen. Every one of them is going to be like, yeah, pull the lever, kill the 1 over the 5. I've got a way better chance of surviving. And I don't know, I think that really clarifies things for me, to be like, if I was in that position and I could coordinate with others, which is what we can do in the world, we sort of want people to consider us like we would consider our close relations, or people in like kind of within their own self-interest. I think that kind of applies to a lot of things.
I've never heard that hypothetical before.
With the sack specifically, or the train?
Well, the sacks is interesting. Do you think that the most popular causes are indeed the most important?
I think no. I think that the most important causes aren't necessarily the ones that are most effective or the most important. I think that this is just not true. The ones that are most popular are things like, oh, now I'm going to sound like a bad person, are things like cancer research.
Yeah.
Which I do think is really, really important. But when we weigh up, the cost of treating someone or developing new, like, cancer research versus the fact that children are dying from preventable diseases, where we could prevent a death for, a fraction of the cost, sometimes literally, 1/100th or even, more than that. I think that, the thing that we really want out of life is to, like, prevent people that we love from dying. And like we were just talking about, everyone is someone's child. And I don't think it really matters what kills you. The thing that we should stop is people dying. And if we can do that much more effectively by preventing people from dying from preventable diseases for, very, very cheaply with like very established medicine, we should do that first before we do more research. And that's not to say that like cancer isn't a tragedy, of course it is. But no one should have to die from a disease.
If you didn't want to feel like a bad person, you can always talk about philanthropic funding of the arts, which I think.
Oh, do you want to give an example that doesn't make me sound like a bad person, Bridget?
No. But I do think that there's a lot of things people give money to that are sort of pursuing values that seem a lot like what I would call, self-interest. Like, for example, their child's school. I think that one is pretty clearly like, if you're very, very wealthy and you're paying for your child's school to be even better, is that really philanthropic activity, or is it just something good to do for your child and your community that serves you? I don't know. I think that those kinds of things balance against when it comes to people in extreme suffering and needing their lives saved. Some things are so much closer to like just purchasing goods than actually doing philanthropy.
Yeah, like what is it? Building. I feel like there's a lot of philanthropy around. Did you say like art and whatnot? But there's a lot of like people paying for like big public pieces of art, which are obviously nice and make your city look nice. But when you weigh it up against the possibility that maybe you could have prevented a child in another country from dying, it is hard to justify that, I think.
Ray, do you think that people are more likely to take problems seriously if they personally feel the consequences?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think that it's like with anything. It's like with climate change, right? If you don't really feel affected by things, but then other communities are much more affected by the realities of climate change, you wouldn't maybe be as caring about it. I think we've seen that across the board. I have another, hypothetical for you. This one's a little bit bigger, okay? So
that's good. The others I found quite small and easy to solve.
I'm really sorry. My apologies. So picture a world we'll call World A. It's small, just 10 million people, but every single one of them is a genius living in a state of pure ecstasy. It's all Mozart, fine wine, and deep connection. Now picture World Z. It has trillions of people. No one is suffering, but no one is thriving either. They have just enough muzak and potatoes to keep going, lives that are barely worth living. If you're a math-based altruist, World Z actually contains more total happiness units than World A. So here's the question. If you had the power to hit a reset button, would you replace our vibrant peak human world with a trillion people living mediocre lives? Is quantity its own kind of quality, or have we just followed the logic off a cliff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a very interesting thought experiment, right? Like, how much do we value, these kind of like calculations of happiness and looking at these really, really big numbers?
Yeah.
I think for me personally, I find this really hard to like reconcile with. Like, I think I should choose people living kind of like very like just a tiny bit kind of like happy lives, where there are many more of them than choosing people who are in ecstasy all the time, even if there's a smaller number. I think the maths does matter, but it feels bad to me, and I kind of don't know how to really reconcile what I think is the right thing here. I mean, I think the right thing is maybe choose the bigger number. Yeah. But I don't like that intuitively.
Mm-hmm. The muzak and potatoes framing really underestimates how much I like potatoes. So it always sounds like a little bit better than I think it's meant to sound, because I do really like potatoes.
And muzak.
Yeah. I'm like,
Elevator music is pretty good, actually.
The thing I think about with this one is that every sort of moral theory, when you pick something to do, or one approach, it comes out with some really weird answers. It's pretty hard to come up with something that's like actually going to guide your actions and help you decide what to do that doesn't turn out to be incredibly weird in some edge case.
Yeah.
So I think that being afraid of edge cases is, or like being, like kind of throwing up your hands and being like they all suck or they're all false is maybe not the right like approach. But then I also, I'm very influenced by this one book by, the book is Moral Uncertainty, talks about, we might actually not know whether we're kind of really committed to the math of counting up people's happiness and then picking that versus like maybe art matters intrinsically, at least a little bit, past a certain point of happiness, or maybe some other things matter. And we're trying to kind of balance our decisions in a world where we just don't know necessarily the right answer. So it's like, it's possible to sort of crunch the numbers and be like, okay, well, under this frame, that's what I would pick. But then in reality, we don't have all the answers about where morality comes from and how to count it. So you would maybe pick a more mixed strategy if one was available to you, until we know more about how to do the right thing and make the right choices.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just pick world A and then you're going to try and commit me to the repugnant conclusion? Is that what you want me to do?
I think we're both committed to the repugnant conclusion, the Muzak.
Yeah, the Muzak. I'll pick world A. I'll just say it's better, and then you'll reveal there's a world B that's slightly in between that I should rationally prefer.
Surprise.
And then, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know you'll get. I've read my path it, but I feel like someone once made an argument that maybe they thought we already lived in the repugnant conclusion. Our lives were currently already barely worth living. So maybe it's not so.
And we do have Muzak and potatoes.
We do have Muzak and potatoes.
Hopefully we have something beyond that. I mean, I'd like to think that we're not living in the repugnant conclusion.
I heard the whiz of the simulation.
Ray, why do you believe in the principles of effective altruism?
Why do I believe in them? Because I think they're correct. That's the main reason.
That's a really good start.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Why do I believe in it? Well, I guess I feel like compared to all the other ethical theories, I feel like utilitarianism seems the one that's most likely to be true and has the fewest counterintuitive implications from accepting it. And then I feel like a natural extension of being a utilitarian is you believe in effective altruism, basically. And that it seems like, when I was a child, growing up, you see ads about, people living in the developing world and stuff, and it seems very sad, and it feels like you wish you could do something about it. And it feels like effective altruism is sort of an answer to that question of like, here's a way you can make a genuine, impactful difference to the people in these lives that's going to do the most possible good.
And a question for everyone, do you think that if impact was invisible, that people would care as much?
If impact was invisible, I have just now so many questions about what that means, because if we couldn't even measure it at all, then I think we wouldn't care at all, because we really want to know that we are having impact on people. But the measurement could be, a study or, data that we can collect. So I hope that any impact that we care about is not invisible from the data, that we can find measurable ways that we're making people's lives better. If it was invisible to, and I guess that goes for every person who donates, is like there should be some evidence that you're having impact. But I guess what else would invisible mean?
But have you mean invisible in the sense of like you're disconnected from the consequences of your, like you can't necessarily see where your charitable donations are going to directly because, we don't live next door to say, the person who's, we're trying to prevent them from catching malaria or whatever, then I'd say that does have that's I think probably one of the largest drivers for why people don't donate to charity more is because, they're just, isolated from the issue and the potential benefit of the solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when people fail to be connected to a sense of impact, that this often diminishes people's kind of like willingness and excitement to help. But I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think that people should, you know, if they think that what they're doing will have impact, that you should do it regardless of whether you can see it or not.
Yeah.
If you magically know it's being measured and that it is really having an impact, whether or not you can see it is kind of immaterial. To me, doing good is about helping others for their sake, not for your sake.
I disagree. It should be about me getting credit. It should be about me seeming like a good guy. It should be about me being able to brag about it online. I think that's the only important cause.
That's why Ray donates $1 and just tweets about it every time.
100%. I am active on Twitter. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Truth Social. You can find me anywhere.
Getting all the clout.
Yeah, thank you.
But, you know, I really do think that, like, people should want to help others because it's helping others, not because it's helping them. I think doing good is about helping beneficiaries, and that is not necessarily the same thing as seeing that help.
But do you think for people, I'm not going to say all people, I'm going to say a lot of people, do you think it is about self-gratification though, rather than like actually helping other people?
I think it's often a mix. I think we also do good things because it makes us feel good.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes that can be portrayed as being like, you know, not a good thing, but I think that is okay.
I think it's good if doing good things makes you feel good.
Yeah.
We should encourage people to feel good about doing good.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice thing to do, and I don't mind if that's a motivation.
Yeah.
I think as long as it comes second to actually helping people. You know, maybe it's like 50% helping people and 49% you feel good about it. I think it's fine to feel good about doing good, but only second to helping others.
Yeah.
I think waiting for the right feeling before you go and do good as well is like a kind of mistake. Like if we're expecting to sort of have this like magical calling or this like overwhelming compassion, and that's really what's going to motivate us to do it, it's just really easy not to have those feelings. Maybe people's personalities differ, and it just doesn't mean that you shouldn't do anything. You can still make an incredible difference in the world and do stuff that really matters, even if you're not like called to do that or driven by incredible compassion, as long as you're still trying to genuinely think and wrestle with the idea of how to do good.
Yeah.
I think doing good can be really boring, right? Like people who are out there doing like super important foundational work, maybe they're delivering vaccines or they're working as a doctor, they're doing something really, really important. Like a lot of that work is still boring work. I'm sure they wake up on Monday morning thinking, God, I wish I didn't have to go to work today. Like doing good and like feeling good about it aren't necessarily correlated, and they shouldn't have to be correlated for good work to happen in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone loves going to work on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I wanted to come to work today, but I don't always want to come to work on a Monday. And I think, that's fine, because like I don't necessarily rely on how I feel as like an indicator as to whether I should act or not, and to continue to do good.
Yeah. What's the biggest mistake that you think people make when they're choosing where to donate?
If I had to speculate, I would say, and I could be wrong, but I imagine a lot of donations, I guess, I believe William McCaskill pointed out in the opening of his book, but I imagine a lot of donation is almost reflexive and on the spot, like we've all done it, like if you walk past someone and they ask you for some money and you give it to them.
One of the really good looking people with a clipboard.
Yes, I always find the most attractive one and I give them the money. And then I find the next attractive one and give them a little bit less, so they know there's a ranking system. Any 10 will get a 10 from me. But I imagine a lot of donation is almost like that. A lot of it is that reflexive and, not necessarily well thought out, just sort of on the moment. Whereas I think what is good about effective altruism is, that it's, well researched or is attempting to be at least, and is trying to figure out, we want to harness that feeling that we have on the spot in that moment of, the feeling of wanting to help that person, but how can we apply that to as many people as possible?
I think as well the biggest mistake, and maybe this is a cheeky answer, is just not donating. When so many people make that mistake without even going to donate, they just don't even think about it. They're not including it in their plans or like their way of approaching the world. They're like, I want to make a difference, I want to do good. And it's like, you could do that right now. And I think that getting into the habit of giving is a very important first step. And then the second step is really then thinking through where does my giving do the most good? But once you've sort of broken the seal on being willing to give your resources, then you kind of like, you're more invested in then it going really well.
Yeah. So I have one more hypothetical for you. Okay. Well, this is for everyone.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Imagine a world-class hospital run by a perfectly human-aligned AI. Okay. It has 5 patients on the brink of death. 1 needs a heart, 2 need kidneys, 1 needs a liver, and 1 needs lungs. In the waiting room sits a perfectly healthy person who just came in for a flu shot. The AI calculates the math. Kill 1 healthy person, harvest the organs, and save 5. It's a net gain of 4 lives. In a world governed by effective altruism, is this AI a monster, or is it the most effective doctor we've ever built? At what point does the greatest good for the greatest number become a bit of a horror movie?
Well, just like for the trolley problem, I think we should put everyone in a sack and give them mobile phones.
You love the sack.
And then they can text each other.
Not call each other. It's specifically...
My issue with the sack is you can't then determine who's the most attractive and therefore who's the most worthy of saving.
It's a column on the spreadsheet, right?
But you can text them about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Self-rankings. No, I do have a better answer, I think, which is this thought experiment about killing someone is it really breaks a lot of norms, so it's very uncomfortable to think about. And I think in nearly all real world situations, I'm thinking back to moral uncertainty. In moral uncertainty, you sort of really don't want to violate what you might think of as like side constraints, where it's like, hey, I'm really not sure between, like, I think consequentialism and summing up how much good we can do is like really a really good way to make most decisions, but it does seem like they've got something here where the whole like don't kill, like it does seem that could be really important. And so most of the time in nearly every practical situation, the answer is going to be don't violate those side constraints. Don't go and do something that's like super wrong by one of these other moral theories. Because one theory says it's so, because then you really open yourself up to huge error. And then very practically in real life, there's a lot of good reasons why, if that story got out about you go in for a flu shot and then you get harvested for organs, then maybe people wouldn't go and get their flu shots, and then more people would die because everyone would get the flu and it would be a huge pandemic. So there's a lot of reasons why we need to trust one another and not like lie, cheat, steal for the greater good. It's very important. But in the constraints of the specific thought experiment, and that's the only thing that's ever happening, and they can all text each other from their sacks, then
Add me on Facebook.
I think that they want to... I think you want the 5 to be saved, but I'm not sure.
Yes, this question is the reason why I studied philosophy in the first place, actually. They presented us with the trolley problem, then this one, and the difference in intuitions is so fascinating. But I think what Bridget said is probably correct, that you could probably be, somewhat rule utilitarian about it, I think. There are some rules that may be... not in every instance, maybe they don't necessarily produce the utilitarian answer or the most, consequentialist answer, but they are still worth following a lot of the time. And yeah, like Bridget said, we don't want a system where, you think you go to the hospital for a treatment and then your doctor cuts you up and gives out your organs to the dog or whatever, and all the different people waiting. So I think effective altruist or utilitarian type thinking can avoid this problem.
Yeah, my sense for this is that, you should probably not kill someone to save 5 others, generally. I think that, this is potentially bad for all of the reasons that I outlined. One of the kind of like maxims that I like to come back to, I can't remember who said it, was that you should probably go 80% of the way towards utilitarianism and then stop. And that this gets you most of the way. And I think that's basically right. I think that although, we don't want 5 people to die, it doesn't make sense to just kill someone who does not want to be killed in order to save the people.
Well, it raises more ethical questions for me because it's firstly, it's deeply unethical to kill someone who doesn't want to die, as you said. But then also my question is, why do we have to save everyone? In that instance, we're all dying, and at some point we will die. So if those people who were in the hospital had various ailments because of whatever, old age or whatever's happened in their lives, right? Do we, always need to be saving everyone?
Are you a doctor?
No.
That'd be just the worst bedside manner I've ever heard. Well, you're sick, but, you're going to die anyway, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about this.
I think you're kind of asking a pretty interesting question, because you could imagine maybe that these people had lived super happy lives and then suddenly fallen into comas. They had no idea that they were sick. And so we're now faced with tricky questions about is it better to, does it matter who wakes up from the coma out of all these people? Does this person care that they get to experience the next day versus this other person caring that they get to experience the next day? And I think one of the things that, we've talked about philosophy a lot already in this podcast, and I think that effective altruism needs to keep touching philosophy, because as soon as you start asking really hard questions, you keep running into proper philosophical quandaries that need really clear thinking to resolve. So I don't think anyone's working on this problem in a way that maybe is relevant, but philosophy that's making a difference in people's thoughts might be, how could we weight different animals' lives related to one another versus a human's life? What's the moral weights of that? Or how would we value giving someone doubling their income for a year versus giving them so much amount of healthy life? And it's we don't know these answers off the top of our heads. You can really think them through and come up with different conclusions. And it's worth doing that, because if you get it right, then we get to do a lot more good. So I think that, I don't know, maybe it can seem strange how much philosophy, which is often considered kind of an ivory tower, not relevant to anything, discipline, comes up over and over again when you're really thinking about these questions. But in my experience and in my understanding, it really does.
Yeah, and I think that, whether we think about them or not, these kinds of beliefs and values actually do shape our society, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. So, the way that our government funds healthcare does weigh up some of these questions about, how much healthy life should, we weight someone who's younger versus older. All of these things kind of are baked into the way that society works. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that there are these trade-offs in resources. And we need to think carefully about what we value and how to do good, because, that gives us the chance to influence these systems that are sometimes not set up fairly, not set up in a way that produces the outcomes that people would like to see. And we need to interrogate them so that we can do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our podcast today. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a good conversation. Does anyone have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I was trying to think of a hypothetical of how many comedians you would trade for. I couldn't quite get there. But...
Any infinite.
Yeah.
Comedians and children,
I think the least low value members of society. Comedian, arts funding, cut it all. Cut it all. Give it to someone else. Give it to. Well, no. There should be some. Don't cut my funding. But
Well, thank you so much, guys. It's been a really great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.